Hello, everyone. I've been asked to make videos about when I keep talking about what is real money and what is currency and the difference between the two, and why I keep stacking silver and buying silver instead of other assets. I got to get a little bit historical on this. And so, a little bit about, first of all, the definition of money is that in order for it to be money, it has to meet a certain criteria um, and possess a number of features. It should be portable, durable, divisible, fungible, and a store of value. But five major elements to being money. I've talked about this before, but I'm going to get a little bit more into the historical about why silver is actually uh, uh, real money and why the value that it is at today is dramatically low and is historically undervalued. When going back thousands of years, all the way up to the beginning of the 20th century, at the turn of the century, it was still valued at its historical rate. After the beginning of the century, especially again because of the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, values of certain assets started to get distorted. If you know anything about the 1913 Federal Reserve Act, it's basically when we gave our monetary system up and gave it up to the bankers instead of the actual government running. Individuals think that the government makes our money and prints our money, and technically that is true. They print it, but they don't issue it. Our government actually borrows money from the Federal Reserve, which is not federal at all. It's a privately run organization with shareholders that get dividends up to percentage on a yearly basis. So back to what is money. Now, when we look at our dollars, we wonder why. Have you ever wondered why they're valuable? I mean, is you ever really, they're just pieces of paper that you can light a fire and it's gonna get burnt up real quick. Have you ever wondered what makes this so valuable? It's a piece of, it's actually like cloth because it's the way it's made. It's just a piece of paper, but yeah, we cherish it. We die for it. We work hard for it. We labor for it our whole lives. We save it. We treasure it. We buy things with it. People accept it for their goods. Why? Well, it all goes back to, again, the turn of the century, basically, when silver, and I think I have a gold piece here I can pull out for you guys, but when silver and gold were used as money, and that was it. I mean, if anybody knows about what a silver certificate is, or better yet, a gold certificate is, a little bit what I'm talking about. Now, I knew and heard of silver certificates since I was a teenager, but I didn't really know what they were. And a lot of individuals who think they know what a silver certificate is really don't. Now, this is a $5 gold piece that I have here. $5 gold piece. It says $5 on the back. And this is a $1 silver. Now, the reason paper money started to come into effect, well, in the turn of the century here in America, is to safeguard the silver and the gold. And what I mean by that is that banks, mints would hold on to your silver or your gold, and they would give you a certificate. So if you had a $1 gold piece you put in the bank, they would say, okay, Mr. Valdez, here is your $1 silver certificate that will be paid to the bearer on demand. Now, I'm going to read this to you. And it says silver certificate at the top. and it certifies that there is on deposit in the Treasury of the United States of America $1 in silver payable to the bearer on demand. Now, what about a $5 silver certificate? Now, the $5 silver certificate says exactly the same thing, only that it says $5 in silver payable to the bearer on demand. So basically, this is real money, and these are exactly what they say they are. Certificates, not money. This is what you call currency. Currency is what we use in lieu of money. Now, the Treasury, the Federal Reserve, all them could only print the same amount of currency bills or certificates for exactly the amount of physical silver or gold they had in the Treasury. Now, I have a gold certificate just so I can tell you a little bit about how this system worked. This is a gold certificate. Now, it says exactly the same thing. I'm going to read it to you. Now, it says again the same thing. It certifies that there has been deposited in the Treasury of the United States of America $20 in gold coin payable to the bearer on demand. So if I went to the bank with my $20 gold certificate and my $5 silver certificate and I said, I want my money for these certificates, then I would get $20 in gold. So if they didn't have a $20 gold piece, they could give me 5 of these. And for my silver bullion, they could give me 5 silver pieces. Now, if they didn't have gold, the ratio was from 15:1 silver to gold ratio. So if they didn't have gold, they could give you silver in lieu. And they moved to like 16:1 because there isn't actually a full ounce of silver in each dollar. So there's about 3/4 of an ounce of silver in here. So at a 16-ounce-to-1 ratio, there would be about $20 to equal that. Hope you understand that, a little mathematical. Now we're going to get it back a little bit about the historical value of silver. This is what we want to talk about. Silver and gold, but silver in particular, has held its value for thousands of years. Now, in order to be able to adequately value your silver, instead of putting it towards dollars and how much this says dollars it is today, which is really, really adequately, stupidly low, we can measure it towards other assets, and instead, especially historically and up to date. Like measuring gold versus silver, gold versus houses, silver versus housing, silver versus meat, silver versus oil, silver versus pork, stuff like that. Now, throughout history, 1/10 of an ounce of silver equaled to 1 day of human labor. And we're going to go through human labor right now. So, ever since like the Roman times, the Roman soldier would get 1/10 of an ounce of silver, which is a Roman denarius, for a day's labor. And an actual laborer would get 1/10 of an ounce of silver. Sun Tzu, Art of War, said that it would cost 1,000 ounces of silver to run 100,000 man army. Now that would be 1/10 of an ounce of silver per soldier. Now, the turn of the century, factory workers were getting actually a dime a day, which is equivalent to 1/10 of an ounce of silver. Our dimes that we would use in circulation are 1/10 of an ounce of silver. Now, if you look at a dime before 1964, it was 1/10 of an ounce of silver. And if you look at a dime after 1964, there was no silver in it at all. They debased it 100%. Before 1964, it was silver. So a factory worker in 1900 would get 1/10 of an ounce of silver, a silver dime, for 12 hours of labor. Now, in 1913, again, remember, the Federal Reserve Act was implemented and our national fiat system was born. Now, for the majority of history, like I said, mentioned before, 1/10 of an ounce of silver was used as $1 a day for human labor. It was traded for and again 1964 before. Now imagine a human, a Roman soldier getting a tenth of an ounce of silver every single day, or a factory worker, or whatever, and that would supply him for his food, his shelter, his taxes, anything he wanted to buy for himself. Maybe having some fun every now and then. So imagine the value of that tenth of an ounce of silver way back then, or again at the turn of a century. If a factory worker was getting a tenth of an ounce of silver, then of course he probably wasn't getting paid adequately, but he was getting paid enough to take care of himself, and that was about $2 right now in money. If you look at the value of the money today in silver, about $2 a day, and the 2/3 of the world live off of $2 a day. If you look at it right now, which is a tenth of an ounce of silver, something to think about. Now, how can we even contemplate the value of a tenth of an ounce of silver to where we are today with our economy and the way our fiat system is, and they're printing money out of thin air every single day? Now, if you look at it at an average minimum wage laborer, $8 an hour. And that's what a soldier gets today too. If you look at a soldier in the army, they get minimum wage. I don't know if you know that, but a soldier in our army, if you look at it today, an average soldier gets paid minimum wage. So if you look at it like that, $8 an hour times 12 hours a day equals to $96 a day. Now, if you think about it like that, at $96 a day, then that tenth of an ounce of silver would be worth $96 at an implied value at today's wages and labor, historically. Now, if you look at it like that, how much is an ounce? So, if a tenth of an ounce of silver is $960, then 1 ounce of silver should be $960 implied value, historically. Let that sit in a little bit. Let that sit in a little bit. $960 for 1 ounce of silver. Now, if you look at the rates today, an ounce of silver is under $15 right now. It's like $14.50 or something. And it's because it's manipulated with the markets, with how much money, paper fiat that they're printing on a daily basis. But it's really hard to value with today's value. So you look at it historically, to see exactly where it should be, and if it's something that maybe you should think about doing and implementing into your little retirement or wealth preservation, or just thinking about your future of your kids or yourself. Damn it. Now, look in the Bible. Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 shekels of silver. Now, a shekel of silver was about half an ounce of silver. So that was about 15 ounces of silver. Now, at today's prices, that is $285. Now, would you give up your best friend, your enemy, for $285? I mean, much less the Son of God, our Savior. Now, if you look at it in the implied value historically, this is even look at the $96 at $960 an ounce, that would be 30 shekels would equal up to $14,400. Now, if you look at those murder for hire plots, they're about 10 to 15,000 that actually it costs to hire somebody to murder somebody else. I'm just saying, So you think about it historically, the silver has actually held its value, and in the implied value of what we believe it to be, you could say like, oh, maybe he did, backstab Jesus for 15 grand. Maybe he did turn his back for 15 G's. I don't know, but seems a little bit more likely than a couple $100 at implied values historically. Now, the average baby boomer today has around $88,000 in retirement, which is not nearly enough to retire off of. Most people believe that you make $1 million and you can retire comfortably off $1 million. Now, there are 1,100 millionaires in the United States today, I believe. Anyway, so now if you were to get 1,000 ounces of silver in your lifetime to retire off of, and in the implied value of each 1 ounce equaling to 10 days of hard labor, if tenth of an ounce of silver was 1 day of labor, then 1 ounce of silver would equal 10 days of labor. 10 ounces of silver would equal 100 days labor, and 100 ounces of silver would be 1,000 days. 1,000 ounces of silver would be 10,000 days of labor, which is 30 years. Regardless of what you can stack or what you cannot stack, that is insane. And you should think about getting a few ounces of silver for the future. Now, looking back historically, there were some kings of England that didn't even have 1,000 ounces of silver. I mean, the barbarians in Roman times were at the gates of the Roman Empire, ready to sack it, and said, "All you gotta do is give us a ton of silver, and we'll be on our way. Give us 1,000 ounces of silver, and we'll go. We won't sack your city and your empire." Now, regardless if the Romans couldn't do it or they either wouldn't do it, but it didn't happen. Whether or not 1,000 ounces of silver is something they couldn't even attain, or they was too valuable for them. Either way, they would not or could not give up 1,000 ounces of silver, and Rome was sacked. I mean, it just blows my mind. There are 11 million millionaires in the USA today, and any one of those average ones could buy 1,000 ounces of silver, no problem. It costs $1 million for them. Now, think about it, a car now. An average new car is about 1,000 ounces of silver at today's implied value. So it's like, come on, what's going on here? Now, at the best estimates, there are about 1 billion ounces of above ground silver. Now, at today's world human population rate, which is headed up to 8 billion, that means that there's roughly about 1/10 of an ounce of silver for every single human being on this planet. Now, with being that every single ounce of gold that has been pumped up from the ground is actually being hoarded and being cherished somewhere, where's all the silver going? What do we use for silver? Now, look at that. And if you research that, it's really going to blow your mind, because silver is like one of the most versatile commodities on this planet. I think it's like right up there with oil. It is literally used from everything from medical to industrial to personal hygiene to clothing. I mean, you name it, silver's involved with it. And it's involved with it in so much, in little itty bitty minuscule amounts that it actually doesn't even get recycled. Now, if we're using up all the silver and the majority of it is not getting recycled, then what do you think is going to happen with the value of that once that is realized with the markets? If there's not enough silver to supply demand. Now, right now, the silver to gold ratio, what we talked about at the beginning, is 90 to 1. Right under 90, 89.9 or something like that. So 90 to 1, meaning that it takes 90 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. Now, remember the historical rate at the beginning? It was 15 to 1, because that's like the average amount that it comes out of the ground. Like every 1 ounce of gold out of the ground, you get 9 to 15 ounces of silver out of the ground. So that's how it's kind of been through humanity and to where we value it. Now, today you could say that it's maybe up to 30, 40, maybe some people even say 60 to 1. I watched a video a while ago in 2012 and the value ratio was 50 to 1. Now, if you were to buy 90 ounces of silver today, or let's say you even had an ounce of gold and you went and traded it. Say, I'm going to go trade my 1 ounce of gold for 90 ounces of silver, because it is exactly the same amount today. And you held on to those 90 ounces of silver and the ratio went down to where it's supposed to be. We won't say 15 to 1, but let's just say even say 50 to 1. That means that those 90 ounces of silver that you got, you can get 50 of them. Go get back that 1 ounce of gold that you traded the 90 for and keep 40 ounces. Or 10 more ounces, get 2 ounces of gold and almost double your money. Profit, stack, whatever. Now, if you look at it like that, it's like, wow, maybe I should buy silver today. Because if I buy 10 ounces today at 90 to 1 and it drops to 50 to 1, then those 10 ounces is going to buy me way more gold later than it could buy me today. And that's why silver today, I say, is the best buy and best way to preserve your wealth. Hopefully you learned a lot from this video. If you have any questions about anything, please let me know. If you need to help uh, uh, start preserving your wealth and learning about what kind of silver purchases that there are out there, please let me know. It is very awful for a novice silver stacker to get into the stacking business and have to learn and go through the trials and errors on their own. We can help you take out those trial and errors and not have to worry about any of them. And not buy and waste your money on individual items that you think that you want and is valuable and it really isn't. And there's so much we can get into. We'll get into another video about what kind of silver purchases you can buy and what to look out for and what not to buy. Until next time, this is David, NM Silver and Gold Exchange. Leave a comment below, please. Share this with all your friends. Comment, let me know what you thought. If you didn't like it, please let me know. If you liked it, tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't, so I can try to, revamp it up and make it better for you in the future. And again, please, if you're thinking about stacking, you haven't done before, get some advice. Come over here. I can talk to you and help you out and get you your first purchase going. Until next time.